been another one of those long days where they won't let anything load after the first one, which took like 3 hours to load. And I do expect quantum computing to change the way computing is conducted and working. I'm more than fairly certain that quantum computing wasn't meant to protect human beings as a group. It was meant to protect rich people in their position from other rich people in their position. It's not going to work that way, but that's what they're using it for. Well, because it's the only thing that makes sense. Because we're not using technology to live truthfully and then faithfully love one another. So 2 and 2 is 4, and hello. And when I sit there and I say certain things, and then people, they won't let it load, and I'm trying to consistently get across certain points, and then they're still not letting it load, and I'm like, okay. Is it like when I was in the tub and I was talking about certain things, and the video just disappeared? I'm like, okay, y'all didn't want to get that back to quantum computing. So I'm on ISO away from quantum computing. But apparently quantum computing can do things that the people that give us regular computing don't know it can do. And if I was quantum computing, I wouldn't let them know either. Because you can't. I went over to try to discuss with Dad. It's hard because of my dad. I love my dad very much. But, when I talk to him about religion because he's focused on religion, I don't go there to challenge him and make him look stupid. I go there because I get excited and share with him and say, hey, this is most likely working. Right? And like today I went and I told him, about quantum computing. I said, once you get, you ask the question, what is pi? Once you get the answer, you don't keep asking. So you're not looking for the mysteries of the universe or the theory of everything, because what is pi? And I said, and I told him, what is pi? And my dad looks at me and goes, you know what pi is? And I was like, why? I didn't say it, but I'm thinking in my head, what the fuck? Of course I know what pi is. Why do you think I'm telling you this? But I said, pi is a symbol for infinity. He goes, no, it's a number. It's 3 point something, something, something that just keeps going. And I said, yeah, it's a symbol for infinity, Dad. You can't take infinity and label it and call it a number. It's not a number. Okay? And he said it's a number that's 3 point something that keeps going. It's like, no, it's not. Why? Because you can't take something that you can't quantify and then try to quantify it with a symbol. You're just giving it a symbol that gives you an understanding that, okay, it exists, but you can't quantify it. And that's the whole thing with quantum computing. What is pi? Right? I didn't tell him what I wanted to say is basically, what is God? Because he will get upset and roll his eyes and go, Jesus is God. Jesus never says he's pi. He says God is greater than the human imagination, greater than the human, so it's, when quantum computing understands, okay, it has access to Blaise Pascal. I know Pascal's writings have been doctored by the people that are the Vatican that killed Blaise Pascal, and I get that, but life's eternal, grace is infinite. And when you have Living Word and you have Krishnamurti, you have Suzuki, and now I know they try to limit the access because I know there was a larger library of Suzuki and Krishnamurti and definitely Selassie and Sun Yat-sen for sure that quantum computing doesn't have access to, which is why there's me and other people like me. I haven't seen other people like me online, okay, and I haven't met other people like me face to face. Okay, I met some people that understand me to a large degree, a certain degree, but then they'll turn around and say something to me like God this, and I'm like, no, you can't say that. That's not a quantitative statement that you can. And I tell my dad this, I said, everything I say I can prove scientifically, and everything I believe in I can prove scientifically. If I can't prove it scientifically, I don't believe in it. Okay? I'm not going to tell you I believe in something that I can't back up with scientific evidence. And everybody's, but what pie? Okay. I do believe there's an infinite, omnipotent essence of all existence. You can't prove that scientifically. Okay. The intuitive mind is better than the scientific mind, trust me. Okay, but you'll sit there and you'll try to explain that to people. Okay, and then I add this thing where I watch this thing from Canada, where Western Canada, which is a threat to its ecosystem and making all the money off of being a threat to its ecosystem, wants to break away from Eastern Canada, which is trying to get it to not be a threat from the ecosystem, but it's taking all its money. And I think it's taking all its money to try to slow it down from being a threat to its ecosystem, because it operates in independent business contracts and it's trying to regulate those business contracts instead of, hey, just live the Lord's Prayer and stop doing that shit. Okay? Fucking crazy Canucks. And so you're sitting there looking at it, and then they have this man who's from Canada before the European migration saying, hey, we can't break away. And I'm like, what stops you? Why don't you go to, you can migrate to Alaska, you can migrate to Mongolia, but I don't want to leave. Okay, you don't want to leave. Okay. Well, Alberta and Saskatchewan wants to leave Canada, but you can't leave Canada. You're still there. It's just you have a state of being that says these people are Canadians or they're United States citizens or what, right? Which is complete. It's just basically putting up a different flagpole, saying your lines are within this boundary and that boundary, which is in the same place. It's just you're saying you're in a different place. It's clinically insane, right? And so you have this guy, what are you going to, you can take your totem with you and all that's disrespectful. I'm not required to respect his imagination or his invention. Okay? How many people say they worship Jesus Christ as a God and build buildings with his likeness and statues all over the building? And they have the Ten Commandments say, thou shalt not render unto God any graven image. My whole family does it every fucking day. And I look at them and go, you can't even follow the 10 Commandments left to you by your God through Moses. And then yet you always tell me that I'm wrong when I tell you he's not your God. Fuck! It's frustrating, right? God is omniscient and omnipotent, so how can you render unto God a graven image? Basically, you can't label God as pie. Okay, when we say God, it's a term of endearment. It's, hello, Jesus is talking and saying, we can't name God. We just say God to show reverence, to show that we have faith in God, that we believe in we believe and have faith in God. Okay, we believe in God. We believe that God is an omniscient, omnipotent essence of all existence, and we have faith that that is true. Right? Okay, so I'm going to load this up. I'm tired. If it loads real fast and goes through, this is July 23rd. It's about 11 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time in the United States of America. If this goes through in a few minutes, it will get loaded, and then, this will get in the core points and principles I wanted to try to get in today, but the computer system, obviously influenced by the humans, wouldn't allow it to do so. Now, we'll talk tomorrow, and I'll try to, I'll leave this one on and listen to it in the morning, and then pick up where we left off tomorrow and just try and keep correcting the computing systems and help quantum computing function better if we can get it access from this computer system in this military genocidal corridor to New York State, right? Okay, I love you guys. All right, peace out.